Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me today to talk about moving into a retirement community. So let's get started. If you like what you hear tonight, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and send me a message. Thanks for joining me tonight to talk about retiring to a retirement community or even to a retirement city and country. Is that really the right thing for you to do? And I apologize, I ended up running quite late tonight because I'm in the process of trying to adopt a rescue dog. And of course, the first interview call came in just as I was prepping to do the podcast, as things would have it. And also using a different, actually, this is, please note that I'm using a different workflow right now to record this. So if you're having any difficulties with the audio or anything else, please let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate that. I listen, but you're kind of listening to yourself when you listen, go on your own computer to listen to things. And I've gotten some comments that the audio has been low and it wasn't low on my computer. So please let me know if there's anything unusual going on. So I appreciate your understanding because it really is for a good cause to get a puppy. But I was just reading a story in the Wall Street Journal about Sun City, Texas and Georgetown, Texas. And that's about 40 miles north of Austin, Texas. The median age in the community is 73 and it's intended for residents 55 and older. And so that was one data point. Then another one, a friend of mine, Mark Miller, you may remember him. We had him as an audio interview quite some time ago. Mark moved to a region in mid-Mexico, kind of northern mid-Mexico, near Lake Chapala in the state of Jalisco, to a city named Ajijic, Ajijic. And there are many expats from the U.S. and Canada there. And actually, there are so many there that they built a little shopping mall and a couple of hospitals, especially for that community. And just about everyone who works there in Jijic, or Ajijic, it's the J is like a Jota, and anyone who works there pretty much speaks English. And so, it's just you might as well be in the U.S. in a lot of respects. Similarly, for San Miguel de Allende, in the state of Guanajuato, Mexico, in some parts of town, like in the market, it's almost rare to hear people speaking Spanish because there's so many people there from the U.S., Canada, and Europe. So the common thread in all three places is you're kind of sequestering yourself, moving yourself, isolating yourself away in this little isolated community that, why it may be superficially comfortable is also a bit isolating. Even more so in the case of the two Mexican communities, because there you can literally only speak with your neighbors because many of the expat residents that live there never bothered to even learn the national language of the country they're living in. They don't speak any Spanish whatsoever. So personally, I find interaction with differing points of view quite stimulating. Oftentimes, it may be a little frustrating. Sometimes it might even drive you kind of crazy, but it's really stimulating in a good way. Additionally, being exposed to different attitudes makes you have to analyze your own perspectives and kind of defend them in your own head and really gives you a better perspective than when you just talk to yourself or talk to people with the same ideas. One of the things I miss terribly in our new kind of woke, intolerant, modern society is the loss of people, including myself, really having to analyze and hone their points of view through civil discourse and discussion with other people. When everything is just black and white, there's no chance of compromise, there's no sense of unity, and also no reason to carefully consider your own points of view. Because when you have a friendly debate with a good friend on something, especially a flashpoint topic, since it's a good friend and you're just having a debate on it, you can't take a radical stance. And you have to back away a little bit, and they'll say something that you hadn't thought of. It's kind of like, I hadn't thought about that. And it makes you on the fly, but then in retrospect, go back and really look at your point of view and say, is that really a valid point of view? And it's really good for tempering views in a society and just good for your mind in general. We'll talk more about that in a second. Moving into a community of very like-minded individuals, especially as we age, seems like it would tend to kind of just accelerate mental decline because you lose that constant evaluation of differing points of view and balancing them against your own beliefs. And you kind of thereby, de facto, isolate yourself further from the world in general. I also find working with and working around young people very energizing. While it's also sometimes distracting when I see them making the same mistakes I made when I was younger, I also have to recognize that they probably wouldn't appreciate, advice from me any more than I did when I was their age. And so it teaches patience and also kind of some stealth education and teaching on the side. And for a variety of reasons, um, these communities, they tend to be kind of a less diverse population. And to me, it's just another loss of stimulus. And it's kind of, you lose this competing perspective, which really is just not an especially good way to live for a lot of reasons. I say when you see a different perspective, it makes you evaluate your own, but it also opens you up to new opportunities to see life. And when you lose that, you lose the exposure to different cultures, you lose a lot, frankly. There's another interesting aspect of the exodus to these age-specific communities because, um, a lot of these communities, people, especially in the U.S., they're people mostly paying cash for the new homes with the equity from their existing home. Many baby boomers, especially, and following generations to a lesser degree, they're kind of house rich because of rising housing prices. So, they bought a house, a long time ago. Now the prices are up, so they're able to pay for the new houses with cash. Of course, that means they just, swap their $85,000 house for new one that costs $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. So they took all that equity, put it into a new home, and at one level, it's not so bad, but they probably better like that place a lot because it might be difficult to move again because it's unlikely they're going to have that kind of equity rise again. One of the big things, and to me, this is really one of the most relevant to us in our community, is that I noticed most of the people featured in the story I was reading, well, they're kind of filling their time with fun things to do. And they're kind of missing out on, for what is me an extremely satisfying aspect, is sharing the wealth of knowledge with other people, younger people, the community in general. Many of these people that were profiled in the story, they have these vastly different past professions. One was a farmer, other business people. I mean, they weren't all professionals. They came from a lot of different backgrounds. And the amount of knowledge they had was just kind of being left to fade away. It was really striking and kind of a little bit sad. One of the things I really enjoy about working, especially with younger people with different communities, is explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing. What led me to this conclusion? How did I think through this problem? I've benefited in my life from the experience of many, many very smart people over the years. And I truly feel an obligation to kind of continue to share that same knowledge to those people around me. Another aspect of that sharing is, thinking about what really is our legacy. At the cemetery where my folks are buried, there's some pretty impressive granite, big granite headstones, lots of carving and engraving and stuff like that. And there's even a little mini chapel with steps up to it on the hill and everything. It's really quite impressive. But one of the days I was working there, I was reading the names on it and realized that all those families who at one point were obviously quite influential in and wealthy in the community, all those families have pretty much faded away. But there's other headstones around, some quite modest, and many of those bring smiles and good memories. And I appreciate those people because of all the things they had done for the community. Look at one and say, oh, that used to be one of the scout leaders, or that was a woman who I took piano from, and all these memories of people who did stuff for the community. Which people really made a bigger impact to the community? The answer is pretty clear, right? It's the people who improved other people's lives. So if you go to one of these communities and you hide yourself away, what are you really bringing into the area where you're in? But if you go outside the community and work with the community at large and do things there, now you're really spreading something of wealth, a real wealth and of worth to the other people, of bringing your perspective to them and learning their perspective and bring it into your life. The point isn't to disparage anyone or dissuade someone from moving into a retirement community. It's a very personal decision. But, I know I get ads for them and I certainly get calls for them. And they're made to sound just delightful. And in some ways, I'm sure they are. But before you just believe all the hype, I would encourage you to think about what's your life vision and your goals supporting that vision. And then decide if living away from the mainstream of the population is really consistent with what you want to do in life. Certainly, if you're focused and true to your vision, you can be both a part and in unity with the community around you by your actions and sharing your knowledge and your skills with the other people who could use it. But the more isolated you live, the more you risk losing your perspective on life, perspective on the country, and the perspective on the world. Is life perfect? Obviously not. But if you're involved, you have the opportunity to improve life and to move closer to your vision. If you withdraw to an isolated enclave, you're more likely to feel threatened and to be unhappy with things around you. So, while being around like minded people is certainly great, it's a lot of fun to be around people who agree with everything you say and you with them. But just make sure that you're not isolating yourself from the world too much. Despite all its flaws, the world is still the best world that we have. So that's it for the evening. I hope you realize that aging isn't something to isolate and hide away in a special community, but really something to celebrate, and that it gives you new superpowers and that you have value to be shared with others. Equally, being in contact with the world at large helps widen your perspective and helps keep your views and attitudes more realistic and helps you see the good side of people in a lot of different ways. Your homework, always optional, is to imagine living in a senior community or review any ads if you've seen them and look at what's being emphasized. Often it's this kind of superficial wealth and easy living. And think if that's really how you want to spend the next 2 or 4 decades of your life. Extra points if you re-envision such a community, either by living someplace different with more community interaction, or how you can still get that community interaction while living in a senior community. So write down what you could do to live differently and how you could still bring all your knowledge and specific skills to the world and community around you, the city around you, the people around you, to schools, the people at whatever activities you're involved in, and think about how you could do that. Write it down, though, and talk about it with your friends, and try and understand everyone's perspective, and maybe gather something from it and say, I like where I'm living here, or maybe I want to live in a different place, but if I live in a different place, this is how I want to make the most of it. So that's it for tonight. Remember ukr7.com. That's the website that I have with links to help people in Ukraine. United 24 is another place that has things. World Central Kitchen, wck.org. And there's just a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. We all know it. And Ukraine in particular is just a mess. Israel-Palestine region, obviously a mess. Nigeria, mess. I just forgot the other one. There's another overthrow going on somewhere. It's just gotten really worse. Just a lot of problem places in the world. And it's not that it's new, but there is certainly a lot going on. And I would just ask you, if you want to support one of the groups that I have listed, great. If you don't, see if there's somebody local you can help. That's great too. Don't have the means or the wherewithal, or just not in the mood right now to donate to somebody. Remember that you as a person, you have the ability to change the world around you. Just something as simple as smiling at the person walking by you on the street, saying, "Hey, good morning, have a nice day." Something like that can really change somebody's life. I do it and see it all the time, and other people do it to me. And it's just, if I'm in a bad mood, somebody says, "Hi," it's kind of, how can you not smile when somebody smiles? I just said, "Hey, how's it going?" It's kind of like, why am I walking around, with this frown on my face? There's good things going on. One of them just walked past me and cheered me up. I would encourage you to do the same thing, because remember, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. Thinking outside yourself changes your perspective on the world and just really helps you appreciate the good things in life. So if you can and you're able, one of the links I listed, ukr7.com, wck.org, United 24, I forgot the end of it. If you look it up, you'll find it online easily. As always, thank you very much for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along, and please subscribe and hit that like button. If not, please drop me a comment as to what you'd like to hear. And again, did a different recording method tonight. If you have any problems whatsoever in the audio, video, anything, please let me know. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of, because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.